This is Jac and Anthony from the future. There's some heavy shit coming up, so a brief trigger warning.
There's a bit of mention on scars. We do touch on some topics that are a little sensitive as far as the LGBT communities.
This movie does touch on abuse, body issues, scarring, and we do get a little personal. So your support is appreciated, but if you need to step out for this one, we understand. It's going to roll on this.
This movie means a lot to me because there's so much identity and so much finding yourself, so much that you can, it shows you that you can, like, still overcome so much that you've gone through and still be, still be strong and still keep going at it and still do what you want to do and do what you love. And also there's so many gay themes in it. I love it.
Yes. It's wonderfully gay. And I think that I think that I can anticipate this one being this one might get a little heavy.
Oh yeah.
As we go through it.
Well,
so this week on Let's Watch Something, we went with a choice from Jac. We're big on musicals right now because she wanted to see Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Well, I've already seen it before. It's been my favorite movie since the first time I've seen it.
And I have never, ever seen it in my life.
And I yelled at him for it because I knew he had to see it because I knew he'd love it. How did you feel about it? Are we going to wait till the end?
I'm feeling things. I'm feeling things. It's very complicated. I'll get into more of what that means later. I'm an empath. I'm very empathetic. And when I watch movies, I give myself to the movie to set my mood for me, which is why I tend to enjoy movies that are terrible. Because even though they're not good, they're designed to make you have a good time. And Hedwig sets a very somber and serious tone about a serious life.
But there are
hardships.
Some really great comedic moments.
There are some wonderful light moments in this movie.
Hilarious lines.
I agree. But
so good.
My overall takeaway is that this is a very serious and trauma-filled movie. There's a lot of stuff that stuck with me, a lot of moments that stuck with me, and I don't want to say they brought me down, but the tone that I picked up on it was of a more serious tone than I feel that the movie was actually going for.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I can definitely see that as an outsider, and yeah, no, I feel like this, if you're a kid coming of age and you're kind of on the queer side, or at least questioning whether it be your sexuality, your gender, even just like where you belong, where you fit in the world, who you are as a person, and what you give to society, what you are supposed to or meant to give, and trying to find that. This is probably one of your favorite movies too, if you've ever seen it.
About halfway through the movie, I warned Jac that I'm probably going to be a little quiet on this one because while I did love the movie's positivity and message on identity and its boldness to show the unsavory sides of being trans and the struggles that people will go through in life from beginning to end, I can't speak to these kinds of stories. This is not something that I've personally been through.
You're a 2.
I'm a cis male. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, hetero. You're cis het. I, on the other hand, am not.
And to anyone who will consider themselves an ally, I will say, sometimes shut up. Sometimes just shut up.
Sometimes let us tell our stories.
Yeah.
This is one of those stories.
This is one of those times. This is one of those stories. I'm going to sit back and enjoy the ride. So Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
How do I even start off explaining what the movie is? Like,
if you've seen Almost Famous or The Runaways, any story about, I guess Almost Famous is probably not even close because that's a comedy and not even like this kind of movie. It's about a musician. So kind of like, something about a musician's story. So it's going to cut back and forth between performances, songs in the style of a performance, songs presented as a musical in a fantasy sequence, and straight up characters singing to each other. It intertwines all of those really well, to the point that, and this is me being cis male 2 on the Kinsey scale, saying the part that I can speak of is the technical aspect and its actual creation as a work of art, beautifully crafted. Its pacing, its use of the medium of being a pseudo musical, and its blending of fantasy and real sequences. It wasn't until the trailer park scene I said out loud, I don't know what's real and what's not, and I fucking love it, and all of it's real. We're cutting back and forth between Hedwig,
like memories of like her backstory,
her
and
childhood,
things like
that. And her performing with her band,
and not like cut to nowadays.
The songs are so badass. Absolutely amazing.
I knew that I would get you with the music. I knew 100% that I would get him with the music.
And the music's great, and this very impassionate tale of a non-binary youth in a troubling time is something that I think is always going to be relevant to a portion of the population, and I think that
it's important.
It is important, and it deserves to be seen by anyone who is an ally
this could be
on
anybody.
this. It is.
This movie doesn't even have to really reflect the LGBT tones that it does,
right?
And still be an amazing coming of age story, regardless of like or finding yourself story,
right? And to make it about myself, which is what cis men do best. I told Jack that there's an aspect of this that I wanted to take away, which was just a passionate artist who's creating in spite of, or using even her traumatic past as inspiration. Being able to create is one of the most important things in the world. I strongly believe that creating things, being artistic and creative, making shit,
make shit.
Don't just sit around and watch TV, because
you could be doing it.
You could be doing something better. You can be creating too. Sing that song, write that book, draw, play those instruments,
paint that picture.
Absolutely.
Pet that dog. No, not that has anything to do with it.
The 2 purposes of life, and I've said this before, and taxes. You can quote me on this. Now that's the 2 certainties, death and taxes. The 2 purposes of life. This is official Anthony's stance on the purpose of life. I've figured it out. Firstly, the purpose of life is to gather as many interesting stories as possible.
I've got a lot of those.
And secondly, the purpose of life is to create something that makes you happy. Everybody should have a creative outlet, and everyone's life would be better if they had it. There are people who are going to be in abusive situations or poverty-stricken, communities. This is not, I'm telling you, those are the people who create the best. And while it sounds a little, milk white toast to say, oh, just be creative and your life will be better, I truly do believe it. People in difficult situations, while writing a song is not going to answer your problems, and while it's not going to feed you, it'll make the quality of your life better. And that's something that I saw reflected in this movie, because that was my truth and my story being the lens that I was seeing this through. Mm-hmm. And that's really all that I have to say personally about it, because everything else, as I said, is something that I don't quite relate to.
I, on the other hand, relate to Hedwig a lot. So here's why.
The next 40 minutes is going to be Jack talking about how much she loves this movie.
No, it's not. Shut up.
No, I have things to say. I do, but I'm going to be a good ally.
Okay, so a lot of her story, just I can relate to as a person. She's traveled and left her small life behind and moved Do not. Anthony, do not snack while I'm talking. You're grounded. I told you not to do it.
I told you I'd shoot, but you didn't believe me.
Why did you believe me?
I'll teach your mother to suck eggs.
My mom does suck eggs, but she's dead.
We're cutting back and forth between her performing and her history. Herstory.
So, oh, go ahead.
And as the plot moves forward, anything with any movie with flashbacks, you can cut the flashbacks out entirely. And what you're left with is pure plot, I believe. Hold on, let me explain. The plot of this story was reconciling with Tommy.
I feel like for me, that's not the plot. But that was that's my take on it.
Right. There are other things and more meaningful events that happen. However, the purpose, what is the locomotion, the thing propelling them,
the drive
was literally they were performing on a tour next door to Tommy Gnosis performances.
Yeah, they were shadowing his tour.
Literally at a bar right next to a stadium. They open the door and they hear the exact same music they're playing.
Yeah.
The purpose of this rivalry, this feud, is that Tommy Gnosis used to be partners with Hedwig.
Lovers.
And stole
Hedwig.
all his music.
All
her music. All of his music was stolen from her.
There you go.
That's the way I was trying.
That's what you meant.
His music is stolen in that he stole it.
Yes. There you go.
I was conjugating the wrong noun there. I'm sorry. My pronouns were correct. I'm just digging myself a deeper hole here.
Good job. Would you like a shovel to bury yourself alive because you're digging so deep? It's cute. Anyway.
One of the flashbacks that I started to realize that this is going to be a major touchstone for people was with the song Origins of Love, and when that whole thing with the drawings, and we get the reveal that he was abused by his father. And Jack said that the song made her cry, but I nearly teared up at the mother yelling at the father as he laid in bed, because that is a very heartbreaking image.
Well, yeah, that too. I mean, that's definitely... The song makes me cry for other reasons.
Right.
I connect with it on a deep level. It's a beautifully written song. All of the songs in this movie are beautiful, and
I do think Origin of Love is probably one of my favorite, though.
It's my favorite. It made me cry, and I'm getting a little teared up
just thinking about
it. Shut up! That's not funny. I feel like this particular movie, you can take the songs out of context, and they are still amazing songs.
Absolutely.
Whereas, like, most musicals, you can't really rip them out of context.
Yeah, Cats isn't as interesting without the spectacle
of watching Cat.
Repo is not as interesting without the characters and the plot.
The only song that I like out of Repo, out of context, is the Zydrate.
Well, that's just a good song.
It's such a cool song. Anyway.
But it's stronger in context.
It is stronger in context. However, if you just gave someone the soundtrack to listen to, it's a good album on its own without having any context. 'Cause it doesn't, like... You don't need the context of the movie or the film or the show, the Broadway show, because it is a Broadway show as well.
Oh, yeah, didn't even talk about that.
Excuse me. It's you don't need the story behind it to relate to the songs, and that's actually a huge part of why I love this movie, is because the songs are amazing and can stand alone on their own.
Musicals inherently
are annoying,
are flawed. You're writing music around a story, or you're writing a story around music. It's one or the other. There are very few musicals that have a compelling, perfect soundtrack on its own and work as a musical. Something like Rock of Ages. It's a jukebox musical. It takes songs that already exist and turns it into a musical. and the songs don't flow well together. And the story, it's all inconsequential, but the music itself is solid because those are solid songs on their own. And then you get something like Rent, which is one of my personal favorites. It's such a good story and it's so much an opera, but the music is servicing the plot directly. If you took away the music, you lose a lot of the heart and the emotion in Rent.
So where was I?
Yes. I was discussing the flashback and how the movie uses, I was about to get to how the movie uses beds in a very creative way. There's a lot of overhead shots in beds as a focal central point.
Well, a lot of the settings in the movies are either hotel rooms or really small, like tiny, like potentially even maybe like smaller than studio apartment kind of settings.
Right.
When it comes to like the bed. So that's kind of like the only place to congregate, to sit, to have a sitting. Oh, I hit the thing. That's the only place to have a place to sit or to congregate or to gather or have people in an area. So they have like a bunch of the band members just kind of chilling in the bed and they're playing Spin the Bottle with with a baby bottle. Because there's a baby there randomly. There's a baby there for some reason. I have no explanation for the baby, but the baby's there.
Bands are typically like a family. And we did see a lot of that in Hedwig and the Angry Inch. The band spent a lot of time together. Most of them didn't properly get named in the movie, and they all have weird East German names that are impossible to pronounce.
They're Gudesgudfagen. No.
They sound like IKEA furniture.
No, the only one that has been really named outside of, like, that's actually been named was Yitzhak, who is played by a female, but the character is male.
Which is interesting.
It's a cool take. They liked her audition enough to just cast her as Yitzhak. Right.
Typically in something like this, there tends to be a backlash of, and again, I'm overstepping my boundaries here, of casting and spoilers, casting a woman in a role of a trans woman, or casting a man in the role of a trans man.
Well, here's the thing, though, like,
it gets brownie points for Hedwig being a man playing this character. I just felt it was an interesting choice. I feel like something that was so aware of itself would have put a man in that role. And
well, I feel like that was pushing boundaries because of the fact that it's a woman playing a man who also has desire to dress in drag and be feminine.
Correct.
It's just,
that's the
you
whole
don't
point
really see that.
That's the whole point of Hedwig, and and it's bold. It is 100% bold, and it does things that movies now still don't touch. It addresses sex change operations and relations with cis people that I have not seen in other movies.
Mm-hmm. There's this particular scene with Tommy. I think that's what you're thinking of, right?
Correct.
Okay, so they're partners. They've been kind of quote unquote seeing each other, and she reveals that he's not kissed her in the entire time that they've been together so far, and that's been a few months, and has maintained a near ignorance of the front of her.
Oh God, I loved that line. Love the front of me was such a good, powerful line.
Yeah, oof.
My heart.
This movie is so deep on so many levels and so touching and so raw. Like,
raw is definitely the best word for it, I believe. I described as it was ending. We were watching the final credits just starting, and I told Jack, this movie felt like an indie film. And I didn't mean that in a negative way. I meant as in there is a there is a stillness and a quietness to independent movies. Mm-hmm. There will be long shots with no music. There will be quiet moments, and you can hear the buzz of the equipment, or the buzz of, just the wind and where it was filmed. This staticky noise, the kind of warm and comforting noise of audio equipment being left on, that a major studio would have cut and replaced with room noise or put music under. There's a raw nakedness and a realness to these shots and to these scenes of characters talking amongst themselves, and you can feel the tension and the absolute purity of the relationship between them, because it feels like a hidden camera rather than a constructed
specifically
scene.
Specifically talking about one scene with the trailer park scene with Tommy and Hedwig, where they're kind of just goofing around and talking while she's trimming his eyebrows and he's playing guitar. And that is something that I could have done with my old partners, like that, like, and it's just like, it's cute because they're like kind of joking around a little bit. And like, he asks her, if she believes that love lasts forever. And she says, yes, because it creates something that was not there before. And he goes, what, like procreation? And she goes, no. And then he goes, like recreation, and starts feeling her up. And she's like, stop that. You come in here crying, trying to recreate with me. And I'm like, I love that. That's so cute.
It was such a natural scene. It felt so organic.
It felt it was straight up like realistic as all I can really say is like, that's natural and comforting.
I love it. As we took a small break, Jac was saying how surprised she is that I didn't feel much of a personal connection to it.
Yeah, I was saying because if you're a weirdo, if you're a weirdo or a loser or someone who was made fun of in high school, someone who was picked on, an outcast, someone who didn't really fit in or feel like they belonged in any sort of particular clique or whatever, I feel like you can still relate to this a lot. Right.
And I feel what you're going for there. This movie is for the freaks and the outcasts and the weirdos. And I am 100% weird. I pride myself in being unique. An individual and unique. I'm a precious snowflake. However, I've never struggled with that identity. I've never really felt like I was putting on a facade or felt like I didn't belong because of who I wanted to be. I'm very open and upfront about everything. There's not a lot for me to hide. I own 9 stuffed animals and no pillows. I mention this all the time. I'm not your typical person.
We'll share pictures.
Oh, yes. I need to take pictures of them. I got some new ones. One of them is named Greg, and the other one is named Dawn.
If you can't hear the smile in his voice, he is smiling like huge. It's almost embarrassing. I want to go hide.
And that's why I feel, as much as I did love this, as much as I did love the movie, and as much as I did see the importance of it, I didn't feel a connection to it because I never had a struggle of identity, or a major one at least. And as Jac asked before we started recording, didn't you go through a phase? And I feel like calling anything that I've been through a phase doesn't do justice to some of the struggles that some people in this community go through. And to put myself up there and say I went through a phase and compare myself to something like Hedwig or something that these characters have gone through, that feels like it's doing a disservice to people that are truly struggling with identity and struggling with visibility and being seen.
Well, yeah. I was just saying, like, didn't you ever go through phases and trying to find what works for you, what doesn't work for you, how you felt in certain, like, clothing, certain looks, certain identities, that you're like trying on quote unquote different hats, so to speak.
Yeah, I've been through that, but it didn't feel
There wasn't like the whole like you were ostracized for it.
Right. I didn't feel like I was being ostracized for it, and I didn't feel like I was, by putting on different things and trying out these different phases, I didn't feel like I was fighting against conventions as a trans person might. I wasn't making major changes to myself. I was putting on a different colored shirt or a jacket. And
today I'll wear blue.
And again, it's to not erase some of the struggles that other people go through. I want to be
a good boy.
I want to be a good boy. I want to be a good ally and support people that are going through these, because I have friends who have been through some major life changes, and to sit and complain that I got a bad haircut.
Sorry.
I think you're starting to get the picture of why I feel
it's a little laughable.
Why I feel it does not come close to comparing. I did, however, feel a connection to, as I spoke earlier, the creation, the being a performer and wanting to create things and using a creative outlet to express yourself, which I think is super important to everybody.
Striving through the adversity to still create.
Exactly. That is the thing that I connected the strongest with, because, and we're going to get real here, I lost my job because of the coronavirus. I'm working at McDonald's right now. I fucking hate that. And I'm trying to remain creative, and I'm trying to find ways to be passionate about what I do. And thank you so much, Jac, for being here to help create this podcast with me, because this is my life right now, and I'm very proud to have it. And you are such a big part of it right now. Thank you very much. Gay. That is how important being not just being creative, as in being inventive or being colorful or imaginative. Being creative, as in creating things, is important.
Making a product.
Not a product.
We're a product. Buy us.
No, don't buy us. You don't have to buy us. That's the beautiful thing.
Things. No, I'm just kidding.
You can sign up to support us for as low as $1 a month on Anchor.fm.
For just pennies a day.
And
I'm just kidding.
And I've asked for support before.
I'm not
going to. I don't want to, because that's not why I'm doing this. We start seeing more and more of what made Hedwig who she is. Mm-hmm. She was married. She moved away from Berlin. Luther Robinson.
That voice. That voice.
Ooh, creamy milk chocolate.
Quit being a creep.
That's my two right there.
Shut up!
In all seriousness, the actor playing the character, Luther Robinson, had a very soothing voice.
It was a nice voice.
It played up the fantasy aspect.
Ooh, I can't believe you're not a girl.
It was the candy, Hansel, the trails, the symbolism. It was symbolic as fuck, and I loved it. She moves away, and she lives in a trailer.
They pretty much just after the scene where she has to the
scissors motion.
After she gets her operation, they basically just plop her in a trailer. Like, literally, if you were watching, I don't remember if you were, because you got a text.
I'm sorry, I'm bad.
Yeah,
She was sitting in an armchair with just literally 1,000-yard stare.
They literally plop her in it, though. Oh, that's the thing that I wanted you to see.
Oh, I'm so sorry I missed that.
Yeah, you see her just like plopping in it.
Okay.
They literally plop her in a trailer in this, Junction City?
Yeah.
Junction City nowhere. I'm sure it actually exists somewhere.
It does.
Missouri?
Wherever, it's not important.
The Midwest.
Yeah.
Don't you know?
Don't you know? After a botched surgery, which, again, can play into those, that identity crisis. Mm-hmm. After this botched surgery, she's neither a man, she's neither a woman, she's stuck.
Okay, here's the thing.
It's not genitals. It's not, sex is not genitals, I know that.
So she is stuck with this, what we call an angry inch, because 6 inches forward and 5 inches back, she's got an angry inch.
These are direct quotes from the lyrics.
Her sex change operation got botched. Her guardian angel fell asleep on the watch. Now all she's got is a Barbie doll crotch. She's got an angry inch.
As I was saying, I can totally understand. I totally picked up on the vibe in that scene being she's been dealing with the crisis of who she was, especially since the operation in this depression. And what got her out of that was putting on the wigs.
Yeah, marrying Luther Robinson, becoming Hedwig Schmidt to becoming Miss Hedwig Robinson and then they cut to the trailer where he's basically leaving her.
There's that sense that she has lost literally everything. And what's on the news is the Berlin Wall coming down. And we see the remorse on her face of jumping into a relationship with someone, going through such a drastic situation. And the purpose of it, leaving Berlin, the wall came down and she could have just walked away after everything. And it's that angsty teenage, and this is me reaching here. I'm reaching here. You make and I don't want to say it's a brash decision.
When you feel stuck, you jump on the first thing that you can get to that can take you where you need to go.
And once you're there, you are stuck to reflect on whether or not that's where you want to be.
I've been there.
And it was one of the most heart-wrenching moments was the look he gave her when he opened the door and then shut it. It was kind of just like, meh. It's like, yeah, you're here now. He just kind of shrugs his shoulders and like, meh.
Okay, bye now.
Deep down, she wanted to leave Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
She met a man, fell in love, saw an opportunity to do it, and she got what she wanted. And she got mutilated and hurt along the way. And then all she could do is sit there and see that if she had waited, she would have gotten what she wanted. But that's not the point. The point isn't that none of this wasn't necessary, because what happens to us is what makes us who we are. It is the stories that we collect. That's why I feel like the purpose of life is to collect interesting stories, because these are the stories that make us who we are. And this was a major stepping stone to Hedwig becoming the glorious and beautiful person she was.
The internationally ignored song style is barely standing before you. Her lines are so brilliant.
She takes this trauma, this heartache, this depression, and puts forward a beautiful performance. Someone who is proud of who she is and is past everything she's overcome. It's beautiful. It truly is wonderful.
I don't think she's past anything, though.
No.
That's the thing. Like, she's 100% still going through it.
You're right. That's the whole point of the movie.
The point of the movie is, like, that shit stays with you, though.
Because as much as she's moved forward, she's still haunted by the ghost of Tommy.
Which is not really even a ghost. He's literally
the metaphorical ghost.
A metaphorical ghost. He's literally, though, obtaining success through her art.
And we can break this down even further to say that a cis man is getting the recognition that a trans woman could not. Yeah. Off of the exact same work.
For real, though. That literally happens on a regular. So.
Right.
Oh, this movie is my favorite movie for a reason. I grew up being like weird queer kid, obsessed with drag queens, obsessed with the gay community, and I had no idea why until I was an adult and I realized I was a little gay myself. Okay, maybe not a little. But
Having discussed all this, I feel a tremendous weight lifting off my shoulders. As I said, I'm an empath. I feel things very strongly. And talking through this movie has helped me unload the weight that the movie itself put upon me, the stress. It was beautiful. The music was great. The characters were outstanding. I can't think of a single negative thing to say at all.
I knew you'd like it.
I think that the only major flaw is that it's a niche market.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't going to really pay attention to it or give it a lot of, its due because it's a gay movie.
It's so gay. If I showed this movie to my dad,
he would be like, ew.
He would be out within the first 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He would not be able to sit through it. My mom, maybe halfway through it.
I tried getting my mom to watch it. She bought the DVD for me, though.
Oof, man. Ooh, how hard is that? Any young people out there that are going through phases as a teenager? I know I just had a whole spiel about phases. If you're feeling feelings that you don't know how to express and you show your parents a song or a movie that means a lot to you, you know the response you get that they just don't get it.
They don't get it.
Everyone's been through that.
My mom didn't understand. She's like, what is this?
Exactly.
And I was like, it's my heart, mother. It's my heart.
After this bizarre journey across the country and through Hedwig's life, the guitarist breaks up with Hedwig and...
No, Yitzhak is not necessarily even a guitarist, just like a backup vocalist.
My bad.
The guitarist was Stephen Trask, who wrote most of the music with John Cameron Mitchell, who actually plays Hedwig.
Oh yeah, this is a very homegrown product.
It's beautiful. I love it.
I love that kind of stuff. Normally I'll make fun of a movie that's written, directed, and starring one dude, but this is a different kind of beast altogether. This is a passion product.
And it's so good. So
Yitzhak,
ladies and gentlemen,
gets cast in an international tour of
Polynesian tour of Rent.
Yes, and divorces Hedwig. A little bit of bombshell drop there.
Well,
I mean, there were signs, but the subtleties of this movie are not anything to be taken seriously when the absurdities and surrealism that puts forth information is putting forth such pertinent and strong information. Anything shown in present day that was not abruptly told, I had to take with a grain of salt. So the two of them lying in bed, I didn't know how to take it at first. The band breaks up.
Temporarily.
In the most bizarre smash cut, she is a prostitute. Almost immediately. Immediately cuts to an alley in New York City where they were staying.
My favorite fucking scene. Do not put garbage against the wall, and there is a prostitute standing against the wall. I'm sorry. It's just...
No, I wanted you to get that out. An old rabbi pulls up.
He's like, nah.
Next car that pulls up is a limousine, and it's fucking Tommy Gnosis. All this rage, trauma, the lawsuits, everything culminates in Tommy reaching out his hand to Hedwig and letting her letting her into the limousine. Mm-hmm. And in one of the most tension-filled moments of the movie, he pulls out his CD. And on the back where it says music and lyrics by, he puts a little arrow and then puts Hedwig Robinson.
Mm-hmm. As if that fixes everything.
In the most half-assed apology, however, it does seem to help reconcile things.
A little bit.
It's a little bit of a rush to reconciliation. I'll admit that.
I don't think it was I don't think that was meant to be like I don't think that it was meant to be where they reconcile. I think it was
it comes later, but it does show the complex emotions between two characters. When you have that person in your life that you're angry at, and you hate, and you feel so strongly about, and you tell yourself, if you could just get in a room with them, you would grab them by the scruff of the neck and tell them what they did to you, and you have a piece to say.
Because people actually do that. No one actually does that. And
Hedwig gets the moment. She is in the limo with Tommy and has the opportunity to say she has the opportunity to get out how she feels and is beat to the punch by this little. It's not much of an apology, but it is something. And
maybe
suddenly
we could jam sometime.
And suddenly she doesn't have anything to say about it, and they just have fun singing a song that they wrote together.
And then, but she gets to yell at him this time because he messed up the lyrics on the recording. She's like, Did you say the Cyrus? There's no god called the Cyrus.
It's Osiris. Yeah, we had two different versions. We had one version and you fucked it up. Oh, I loved that.
That was so good. That was my favorite.
It shows it shows the realistic and complex relations that actual real humans do have. Mm-hmm. Nothing is ever black and white. There's never just one emotion. There's subtext to scenes and moments, and that really showed it beautifully. If you want to learn, if you're studying writing and you want to see how to put subtext in a scene, that is how you do it right there. And it's beautiful. They get into a car accident.
Yeah, they do.
And suddenly it's back to...
Little lady talks.
It's back to Tommy has no idea who she is. However, Hedwig has some closure.
Mm-hmm. Because
now she's getting the recognition.
Mm-hmm.
And she pulls off her wig and...
kind of has a little bit of a freak out.
Yeah, in a beautiful moment on stage, and there's this whole imagery of scars being a roadmap, and I felt that, man. It was strong.
That song is called, it's called like something, Exquisite Corpse. It's called Exquisite Corpse, okay? I know, because I love that movie, and I love the song, and I love the soundtrack, and oh my gosh.
The imagery, the complex emotions such as self-harm and scars from abuse, these complex ideas and these things that some people are familiar with and some people have to deal with a lot of, to create such simple imagery that perfectly explains it and symbolizes it and points it towards a more positive way. Not to say that the abuse is positive, but to say that this is the roadmap. This is who I am and how I got here. These scars show the history of myself, whether I like it or not. You have to live with scars. And I'm sorry. Are you okay? I'm so sorry. Do you want to take a minute?
I'm getting a little emotional because
I'll let you.
I'm a self-harmer. I'm covered in scars. And it's something that I can't really hide. I can't really change. I can't really get rid of them. And it's just like, when you were talking about that, it was like, oof.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll cut this if you want me to. Okay.
It's fine.
Seriously, we'll have a talk about this in like a day or so, if you want to keep this.
This movie, it means a lot to me.
The best movies make you feel something, and this movie will make people feel. And I'm sorry that I didn't quite connect with it in the way that you did, but that just means it's a super important movie for you, and I absolutely respect that, and I see why. It is a beautiful movie.
And the lyrics for the songs, like, you can... I'm a music nerd. I will always put music before movies. You ask me movies or music, I'll go for music first. The lyrics for all the songs are just so relatable and so, like, emotional and so powerful and so well written. Like, the rhyme schemes in the songs and how they're set up and how the music is set up is beautiful, and it's perfect. It's absolutely, like, for me, absolutely perfect all around. And it's a movie that means a lot to me.
We end on an image of Hedwig removing the wig, the dress, stripping away the layers, and revealing most of herself. You know, they say the artist stands naked before the world. And we're left with that image, and she wears the silver cross on her forehead from Tommy Gnosis and Tommy Gnosis. And I got some like Fight Club vibes. Not that I for a moment believed that this was the same person, but I see the duality. There's a bit of each of us in each other. A little bit of you and me, a little bit of me and you. We as humans, probably worst of all, infect each other.
Gross.
And that's when it all kind of clicked for me, was all at the very end. The people that we see along the way on the journey through life, and what transpires, the scars that we bear, it all creates who we are, and it's not always pretty, but it is who we are. And the power to be yourself, it's very powerful. And I hate to fucking transition after such a serious conversation, but Jack, how many Jack snacks do you give Hedwig and the Angry Inch?
1,000. This is my favorite movie.
1,000 out of 5. I'm going to give it a solid. Oh, God.
It's you have nothing bad to say about it.
I don't.
What can you?
I'm going to give it five Dippin' Dots out of 5. Because what are Dippin' Dots?
Delicious. Absolutely amazing.
Are
and
they
you don't
ice
even
cream?
know.
Are they candy? You don't even know what they are.
Both. It's everything.
That's what's so beautiful about Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Because we don't know who she is or what she is.
Exactly.
But she's amazing.
Fuck. So, oh God. If you're not an ally, if you're a boring person,
if you're boring,
you might have a problem with it. You might not be able to get through it. But if you are weird, this is for you.
Yeah. It's 100%. If you're an outcast, weirdo, loser, freak, nerd, queer, gay, trans, non-binary,
bizarro,
freakazoid,
just a little bit off the curve.
If you're not cishet male, no, I'm just kidding. Even this cishet male over here enjoyed it. So,
hey Jack, let's plug the socials for a minute.
We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on Spotify. We just find us. Look for us.
Correct.
We exist.
Facebook.com/LWS pod. We are at Twitter at the LWS pod. Spotify, let's watch something. Anchor.fm/LWS. Give us a like on Facebook. Give us a review. The engagement is getting pretty good. Jacqueline's been doing a great job as the social media manager for us.
I also like to call myself the social media whore.
Oh, yeah, that's a big part of the job.
I have to whore myself out a bit.
Next week should be going up with the Boondock Saints 2, All Saints Day. So if this was a bit heavy for you, you got something lighthearted to look forward to.
Lighthearted.
Something a little lighthearted to look forward to next year.
To look forward to.
Whew. Let's watch something.
Let's watch something.